Okay, so I'm gonna try to make a little game out of this, and you can lock in your answers in the comments as we go down. Because I thought I knew what was wrong with me, and then today I actually found out what was wrong with me. So I'm gonna run you through the timeline, and you're gonna try to be Dr. House and figure out what the deal is, because I was so confident. Like, it lined up so good. Okay, well, we're just gonna get right into it. For the past, well, it's been 68 days, I think, since I became sick. But for the last 6 days, I think, or somewhere around there, I've been feeling a bit better. I've been able to skate. So I skated 2 days, and then I was wiped out for a day and a half. Then I skated a little bit that evening, and then I skated another day. So I'm starting to skate again. I get tired very easy, and my brain seems to be a bit funky. But I'm gonna walk you through it, and you're gonna diagnose me for me. And if you guess the right answer, kudos to you. In fact, some people have guessed the right answer. Started off with me just being sick with a sore throat. I had gone and hung out with my friend Maria, who had COVID 2 weeks prior to this, has been cleared, days and days on end, testing negative. So initially, I thought, well, maybe she just had a bunch of false negatives. I had a scratchy throat. I had a fever. That was really the main symptoms, though, like a sore throat and a fever. And then that went away, and I was just left with a fever. And then came the fatigue. And boy, oh boy, did the fatigue come hard. If you know me, pause. If you know me, I very much am probably more so obsessed with riding my skateboard than anyone that I really know, with the exception of maybe Andy Anderson. He's the only person that when I start talking about like how much I enjoy riding skateboarding and how much I think about it, he's kind of on the same wavelength as me. It takes a lot for me to stay off my skateboard. In fact, one of the main reasons that I'm scared to try tricks isn't because I'm afraid to get hurt. I get chronic kidney stones. I've had over 50 kidney stones now. I'm kind of good with pain. I've broken my femur straight across. I've had abscess tooth and kidney stones at the same time. I had all my teeth ripped out. I'm okay with pain. I just don't want to be in a position to where I can't skate, i.e. getting hurt. So for something to take me out to where I'm just so tired that I can't skate, even though I still have all the motivation to, it's a very, very intense fatigue. And this lasted me for, I think, 15 days until I had that one little island where I went and skated, and I felt okay. Sadly, the next day, as I tried to skate again, my heart rate just went crazy. Like, my heart will just start beating so much faster than it normally does off the smallest amount of exercise, which is extra scary for me because I also have a heart condition. I have Wolff Parkinson's White, which makes me very susceptible to other scary things. So my heart acts up, I gotta take it serious, and my heart's just been acting up a very, very, like, it's just so sensitive. Like, the slightest little bit, my heart will go crazy. So I wasn't really sure what was going on. At first, I thought maybe it's something really, really scary, and I got some blood work and urine tests done for some of that stuff. But then the first time I heard the idea of it maybe being the long vid, which I didn't know much about. I just thought it was like the symptoms of having 19, but it just lasts longer. But as it turns out, the way that thing affects different people is it does cause super extreme fatigue, and it causes psychological things, which I'm going to get into because that is going to be a little awkward to talk about. But I'm going to tell you some pretty freaky things that is, pretty spooky stuff. But that's also a part of it. The fevers coming, because they were specifically coming at night. It was almost like every night I would just get a fever, and it'd be a low fever, but it'd still be like 100 point something. And I would still manage to, I think I only missed 2 days. I would still manage on Wednesdays and Saturdays to go out and film the Pal Peralta guys because I needed to stay on top of videos, and usually I have a backlog of about 12 videos, and I burn through those pretty quick. So even going out and filming my friends, just holding my phone was exhausting. Like, my arms would get tired just holding it. And so having the long vid sort of made a lot of sense. I had 2 separate doctors tell me that. But as I started doing a little bit of research, I started creating my own theory because of another problem that I already know that I have, because my body's just a wonderland of not great. So I also have been diagnosed with the chronic panic disorder, which, if you've never had a panic attack, and I feel like a lot of people think they know what panic attacks are who haven't had them, It's basically a very, very irrational, not just thought process of fight or flight, and your body's convinced that you're dying, even though you know that you're not. But there's a lot of very scary physical symptoms. It literally lines up very close to what a heart attack is like. Just crazy shivers, you can't stop shaking, your heart's going crazy, you have a strong pain in your chest over your heart that can travel to your left arm and to your jaw, just like a heart attack. It is very, very, very scary, as well as your brain is just telling you, you're dying, trust me, you're dying. Even if your subconscious is aware of that, and you're like, no, this is a panic attack, that other voice will always be louder. I promise you, I don't care what anyone has told you, you cannot think your way out of a panic attack. You have to wait it out. I know this because I put an insane amount of effort and tried to thinking my way through it, and then I go online, and then I see the community of people who've also been diagnosed with the same thing, officially diagnosed with it, and they all say the same thing. You can't think your way through it. Doctors also say, well, actually, some doctors that I spoke to seem to not know what it is. I think they affiliated a lot with anxiety attacks, which it's a different thing. But psychologists specifically have a very good understanding, and there's tons of documentation and tons of papers that have been written about it. You're just in for a very, very rough time. But this can also cause extreme fatigue. It just drain. If you imagine when you eat food, your brain takes up 30% of the nutrients, right? So if your brain is overcompensating and it's going through all this stuff and it's hogging up more nutrients, and then it's also telling your body that it's tired and fatigued because it's in this, it just released all your adrenaline and stuff like that. It makes sense. You're just worn out all the time. So I kind of came up with this theory that I thought was pretty good of what was wrong with me. But before I say that, let me get into the psychological stuff that I've been experiencing, which is a little awkward to talk about. Being aware that you're irrational, like with the panic attack, is one thing, because it's spoken about. There's a lot of things written about it, specifically like with either the fear of dying or the other scarier of the two, losing touch with reality. There's been times where I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going on at all. Everything's just shapes. Like I'll be looking at a car and my brain's just like, that's just a shape. And while that's happening, since I can't actually comprehend anything, it's not really that scary. Everything, I'm just gone. But when I come back to reality and then I process the fact that I, for a second there, couldn't recognize anything, very scary. It's a very much, oh, I was actually crazy for a second. Like, actually crazy. Very, very, very scary feeling. And talk about putting your adrenaline through the roof. It's like being startled in slow-mo that spans a super long time because you can't get it out of your head. Like, holy crap, I was just completely gone for a second. So that stuff's scary for sure. And I'm familiar with that. But this other different type of irrational, like, let me give you an example. There's a thing on Instagram where it's these videos. It takes place in, I think, Japan, where it's these like kids go to a candy store and they get it, and the guy who's working there, it's supposed to be like very soothing and relaxing, and a guy's like melting a candle down and he makes like a hard candy out of it, and the girl like will find a piece of money on the ground and then she'll exchange it for some candy and blah blah blah, and it's supposed to be this very therapeutic, kind of cute, nostalgic vibe. And I've seen this and it was soothing for me. I liked it, and it got recommended to me again because I watched a couple of them in a row. But more recently, I found one come across my Explore page, and when I say it was really off-putting, I mean to the most extreme degree. Like, as if I was watching extreme violence, like I was on Rotten.com for the first time. That's what it was like. It was that uneasy for me to watch it. Every single clip, every single scene, every single movement was excruciating to me. And I was trying to force my way through it. Like, why do I feel this way? This is weird. Sort of like exposure therapying myself. Like, I even let the video replay, and it was nauseating. It made me like want to vomit. It made me so uncomfortable to where I went away, like did, some other stuff, and went back to it, and it had the exact same effect. I was very aware that it was irrational, but I was still dealing with it. And then a little bit more recently, and in my opinion, more bizarre and much more scary, I was trying to fall asleep, and not the product, not the bottle, not the substance, just the word Pepto-Bismol became extremely scary to me. That, like, when I say scary, I mean The feeling you felt when you were 8 years old and you heard some noise under your bed, this crazy, irrational, your brain's going through all these different possibilities of like, it's something that's going to get me, like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. But imagine that and your parents aren't home. Like that level of scared for the word Pepto-Bismol. I am a 37-year-old adult, and I turned on every single light in my house and sat right here on this couch processing how scared I still was in that moment. Like, I mean, the lights are on and I'm still dealing with this extreme fear of just that word. I imagine that's what crazy feels like. I imagine when you're losing your mind, it's a lot like that. And so after about like an hour of like doing everything I could to like rationalize this and to compartmentalize it, and because I understood it the whole time, I knew that just like, oh, my brain's just like telling me something that I don't actually feel, but since my brain's saying it, I do feel it, or at least I shouldn't have reasons to feel it. It was very much like a panic attack where I just had to wait it out. I couldn't think my way through it. And so I made the decision. It's funny because I just made a video talking about this because I was going through a panic attack, and I spoke of being put on medicine and how much it helped me. I made the decision to put myself back on sertraline because I thought certainly this could be a combination of long vid or panic disorder. I ended up going on ChatGPT and asking it a bajillion questions, as well as watching a bunch of people's, it really started by watching people who had the long vid, and the reason I'm avoiding the full word is because you get demonetized for talking about it, which is silly. But they were describing their symptoms and what they dealt with, and it sure did line a lot up with my panic disorder, almost as if they were the exact same issue. The anxiety, the panics, the fatigue, the temperature going around. Like there were so many things that lined up with both of them that I had experienced in the past with my panic disorder. It did feel way different now. But I thought either A, when you get the long vid, we know that it attacks your brain. I mean, you lose your smell and stuff like that. And maybe it gives people anxiety and panic disorders. Or two, people are kind of like mixing the two up, and maybe people are being diagnosed for this thing when it could actually be this thing. And I also found a study where they were giving people who were diagnosed with the long vid SSRIs, or things to treat panic disorders and anxiety disorders. And there was an 80% increase in a positive effect. I also know someone who was being given some sort of, I don't even want to speak actually on some of the medicine stuff that people were giving, because it's one, it's their business, and two, I don't want to give anyone bad advice, but definitely talk to your medical professional, your primary care, healthcare provider. And if they're not giving you answers, go find someone who will. I understand that studies are very, very new to this, but there's information out there. You just have to go digging for a while, because I found all sorts of stuff, all kinds of new studies and things that they're trying out. So that's what I thought I had. I thought I had one of those two things, or a combination of both. It also lined up nicely that when I started being back on this SSRI, sertraline, 2 weeks ago or something like that, however long ago, around now is when I should start being able to feel the effects of the medicine. It's definitely not fully in your system. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks to fully feel it. But I started skating again. I'm moving around. I have a little bit more energy. And yes, I'm still fatigued. And yes, my brain is still, it's almost like it's shaped like shifty eyes. Like sometimes it just starts looking in weird directions. Like, no. Like we're doing this thing. Weird. But it feels like it's getting better. So I was very, very surprised. When I was with my primary care doctor, we went and got a ton of blood tests. And I mean, he tested me for everything. We got everything from all the big scary stuff, including like HIV and any disease you can possibly imagine, to the small stuff. I mean, he was literally like, we're going to throw every single blood test and urine test that we can possibly can. I gave a ton of pints of blood. And I was very surprised when he called me and said that something came back positive. That wasn't what I thought it was. And so for the people who have guessed this, turns out you were right. I have Lyme's disease, which I didn't know a ton about it, other than there's 2 people that I know personally who had it, and it really wrecked both of their lives. So there's different ways you can get it. You can get it and they can treat it early with antibiotics and you're fine. Or they catch it late, and then you have a variety of different very debilitating symptoms, possibly for the rest of your life. And it attacks your heart, it attacks your brain. It does a lot of very, very, very terrible things. It basically gets in your bloodstream and just wrecks your shit. Now, I did think Lyme disease pretty early on, and I had spoken to someone at an urgent care and told them about it. But the reason that it got ruled out by 2 separate doctors before my primary care doctor just gave me the test because he was going to give me anything anyways, is because it's been a while since I've been near anything that I could have gotten bit by a tick, which is how you get it. And I also never noticed a rash. Usually get like a bullseye rash, which means most likely I got Lyme's disease back in August, or late July, which means we didn't exactly catch it early. So that's not great. And also like the symptoms kind of line up with it just being, I might be in for the long haul, which means a couple things for me. Some changes that I'm going to be needing to make, very likely. So me noticing my heart rate going up very, very fast and very quickly, and I already have a pre-existing heart condition, I need to avoid that at all costs, which means I'm probably going to have to very much slow down the skating that I was doing before I got sick, and probably keep skating the way that I am right now, which is not a ton, like not every single day. I was skating probably like 6 days a week before. And I definitely can't do like 6-hour sessions. It looks like I'm going to be maybe narrowed down. Now, I understand this can come in waves, and I could get hit again with another 60 days off the board, or it could lead to some other chronic illness, Lyme's disease. It's a shit show when you got it. I watched 3 TED Talks, and all 3 of them made me very, very scared, because what they're describing and the way that it built up for them is very similar to what I'm experiencing, and I don't want to end up like they ended up. But there's a lot of people who can get it and it just gets treated early and you're fine and you live a perfectly normal life. And then there's other people who it just absolutely demolishes. And, we're really still hoping that there's a possibility that I'm of the other group, the first group, where I'll be fine after this. I'll tell you what, I was honestly really convinced of it being like a panic thing, because also for people who knew, my friend Victor also just passed away, and about 4 days after he passed away is when my symptoms got really bad, and it made sense to me that a very difficult thing for me to emotionally deal with set my brain off to bring back my panic disorder, to really ramp it up again. I was like, oh, this has got to be it. And it was just like an episode of House where it was like, no, it was actually the very first thing that you thought the first time you noticed that you were getting sick. But it got ruled out because it made sense to rule it out. But I guess, these symptoms can lay dormant for a while and then just hit you over the head. And that's where I am now. Not a ton of the treatment that they can really do about it. The most stuff that I read is doctors telling people, I don't really have much for you. There's some like experimental treatments that people have thrown around, antibiotics, which, I was put on when I first got this. And we thought that, I got prescribed antibiotics again, even though I've already been on them. Yeah, they thought I had a bacteria infection and I was giving antibiotics, and it didn't really seem to help at all. In fact, all it did was just give me diarrhea and gave me stomach aches and made me more uncomfortable. But I'm going to go through another round of it again, just in case I somehow got Lyme's disease in the past couple days, but I know that I didn't. But yeah, the way that it makes my heart a little bit more susceptible. My heart is already susceptible with my heart condition, with Parkinson's White. I'm going to be way more cautious with my body. I'm going to be so annoyed if I die because like I landed a trick a little sketchy and I was like, no, well, I still have the motivation to keep trying. Like today, in fact, I was doing a trick down a rail, which I was pretty stoked on. And I ended up doing 2 in a row. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to throw it in a line. And then after 2 tries with the line, I actually like made the right decision before I even actually knew that I had Lyme's disease, because I just found out a little bit ago, to like sit down. Because I was like, you know what? This feels really funky. My heart's really, really acting up. I'm having trouble breathing. Let's not push it right now. And so I just got to be a little bit more careful with that. Because there's horror stories out there of people not taking this as serious as it is. Because you feel like you can bootstrap, pull yourself up and go get stuff done. And when your body tells you no, it means no. And so yeah, I'm going to continue to the best of my ability to keep putting out parts, to keep skating. I still want to film a video part. I'm going to go skate Tampa Am, which is like the most high energy contest ever. And I'm going to film it, and I'm going to mic myself up during practice and during my run. I have so much stuff planned that is going to involve a lot of energy that hopefully I'm on a good one for those couple days. I leave in 2 days. So I think that'll be a fun event. But like, I'm definitely not going to skate it like I did like 15 years ago where I'm like practicing the whole time. Like I'm probably just going to like be very gentle, dork around. And my goal is to get top 100, which is a bit of a far fetch because to get into the contest, you have to like be invited, and or your sponsors have to get you in, or you have to give them like some crazy sponsor me video. So it's all like top tier contest skater dudes. And then this 37-year-old guy who evidently has Lyme's disease and will be pissing out blood because of a kidney stone that I might be developing right now. I just passed one 2 weeks ago, but we might got another one. So probably not, but I think it's gonna be fun. It's a fun contest to go to. And I'm excited to kind of like share how chaotic the practice session is, like while I'm mic'd up, and have DeVille filming and panning to like the course. And so you can see how hard it is to even get a turn because everyone's just snaking everyone. If you thought the contest that I filmed so far, where everyone's just piling on top of each other is crazy, imagine that with just hungry AMs who are trying to make a name for themselves. Complete nightmare. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated on my health. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. I know it was a lot. But yeah, that's where I am right now. That's what I'm dealing with. And, you know, it's fine. Things happen. Could be worse. All right, I'm going to go to bed.